The color-coded town, they had one rule: no grays allowed, it was a great offense. It brought no compliments. A stranger to the town, he came and met a girl that very few would say is worth thinking of. Still he fell in love, and he brought her flowers every day. And she loved them, she loved him, she never felt that way. But they said, hey, those flowers, they are gray. They can't stay, no, well, we'll let it slide. But read our signs, we don't like gray.
Hello and welcome to the Goldberry Artisans podcast. My name is Emily, and on here I talk about my love of knitting and wool and new things that I learn as I go and mistakes that I make and sometimes fix and sometimes don't. You can find me on Instagram at Goldberry Artisans. On Ravelry, I am Emily Ruth B, although I don't do a great job of uploading project details. And you can find show notes both down in the description box on YouTube and also at goldsberryartisans.com. I don't know what episode number this is. This semester really ran away from me, and yeah. But thankfully the school semester's done. I'm down to just one summer class, so I have a little bit more time both to knit and to sit down and talk about knitting. And I'm finally back outside. Anyone who's been watching my podcast for a while knows that I usually like to film outside, but I live in Maine, so that cannot happen when it's cold outside. I would freeze if I tried to sit here for an hour and talk about knitting. So today I'm not going to go over every single thing that I've worked on since my last podcast, which was in March maybe. I'm just going to talk about technically three finished objects, but they're all the same thing. One work in progress and a sweater plan, which has to do with this pile back here. I will jump in with what I have completed. So these are gifts from my little sisters. I already gave them to them. I had to go and take them back. 3 of Susan B. Anderson's Sleepy Kitten pattern. And so one for each sister. They picked out the colors that they wanted. And the yarn that I used for this little kitten, this is Quince & Co. Lark in the, I believe it's Carrie's Yellow colorway. And then 2 of their grays. I knit a whole shawl in these 2 colors. Then I knit a sweater in the darker color, and I still can't remember the colorway names. I believe this light gray is Frost, and this dark gray is... No, lost it. So this is for my 9-year-old sister. And then this is for my, how old is she now? 12. My 12-year-old sister. So this is the Frost, Quince & Co. Lark in the colorway Frost. And then this is a Barocco yarn. I neglected to bring the label out with me. And I think they're Goldfinch color, I don't know, something colorway. And then again the same dark gray Lark yarn. And then this was for my youngest sister, my 7-year-old sister. This is that Barocco yarn, and then Quince & Co. Lark in that dark gray color. Storm, maybe? So they pretty much coordinate. This one looks a little bit more yellow. When I put it next to this golden yellow, it looks a little funny. But they all picked out their colors, and then I went one afternoon to Knitwit Yarn Shop in Portland. I discovered it only takes me like 12 minutes to get there from my university. Thankfully it was the end of the semester when I discovered that, but that's could lead to more yarn purchases there in the future. So yeah, these are the 3 kittens I made. This one, the one for my youngest sister, she wanted it to match the size of her little stuffed lion that she loves. So I did shorten it, not a ton, but enough to make her happy. Looks a lot shorter than this one. So yeah, I had a lot of fun making these. I've never really made stuffed animals a whole lot before, but I'd heard a lot of good things about Susan B. Anderson's patterns. And this one actually knit up really quickly. The only sewing needed is to whipstick the head onto the body. Here, I'll take the dress off so you can see. And in the pattern, there's like a little boy kitten and a girl kitten. The boy, you knit stripes while you're knitting his body to make his pajamas. But for the little girl, you can make a little nightgown. I was knitting on this, and when my brother said, "Is that a mouse?" Couldn't quite figure out what it was. But yeah, so you knit like the feet and the legs and the tail. And then and the arms, and then you knit the body, and as you go, you knit all of those pieces on as you go. Then you knit the head, then you knit the ears, the ears, then the head, attach the ears as you go, and then finally sew the head onto the body. So really easy, very little sewing involved, which is good. If you can tell, it's stuffed very full. Potentially overstuffed, like you can see it kind of peeking out in some spots, but I think as it gets worn down, that will be good. When I bought the yarn and told the woman at the yarn shop what I was making and that I hadn't really made stuffed animals much before, she said, stuff as you go and stuff it full. Those are her pieces of advice for me, so I followed those. The pattern does tell you to stuff as you go, but I definitely filled it more than I thought I would, like more than I would think. I'd pull a chunk of stuffing out of the bag and think, oh, like I'm probably not going to use all this in the head, and I would, and then I would need more. So I think these turned out really cute. They are very happy with them as far as I know. Now the original pattern has you embroider faces on them. And originally I was thinking, well, I will knit all 3 kittens and then I will sew all their faces on. Like I knit all the kittens, knit all the nightgowns, then I will embroider all the faces on. That hasn't happened yet, and I'm not making any promises to do that. So yeah, these are my 3 little kittens. Forgive any coughing, I am recovering from a cold that I came down with last week, so. Oh, and I forgot to mention what I am wearing. This was my test knit for Annie of This Bird Knits that I knit in Yarn on the House Mother, I think. They're heavy lace weight base. So yeah, it's just a nice open front cardigan with some texture. And I've apologized for any creaking. I'm sitting on a picnic table. A metal picnic table, so it makes noise. My work in progress that I basically am working very monogamously on is the Ninilchik by Caitlin Hunter of Boyland Knitworks. This pattern had been on my radar for a while. I like loose, open tops and sweaters. And when I was little, I loved ponchos. I have mixed feelings about wearing them now and whether or not I'd actually wear them. But what I love about this is the Ninilchik Swoncho. It is not a normal poncho. You knit kind of like a poncho, and then you work sleeves. So there's still a little bit more color work, and then you'll break off for the sleeves, and so you'll have ribbed sleeves over here, and then a solid color border for a few inches on the bottom. I am having so much fun working on this. Oh my goodness. So I just kind of pulled together, I had some larger quantities of different colors in my stash. One thing I love about Caitlin Hunter's patterns is that you don't necessarily need like a full sweater's quantity of your main color, which is nice for using up if you just have 3 or 4 skeins or 2 or 3 skeins of something, then you can put it into one of her colorwork patterns. So the yarns, I'm using a few different ones. So my main color is this cream. It's Hayfield Grampian DK, both the cream and the navy, which is 45% acrylic, 40% nylon, 15% wool. Usually when I knit, I like to knit with much higher wool content, but this is what I had in the right weight. It is a DK weight sweater. So this is my main color. One of my contrast colors is the same yarn in a navy blue. The only yarn I purchased for this pattern was this. It's Knit Picks Swish DK in the Bordeaux colorway. It's a 100% superwash merino wool. So this is the only one that I purchased because I just didn't have another color that contrasted, that matched, or that I liked. And then this is my last yarn. Do I have a label? Of course not. I'll put the information on the screen for what this teal one is. I think it's just like an older discontinued yarn now. And it is actually a sport weight, but in a pattern like this, you actually don't use this teal color a lot, so that's fine. So these are my 4 colors. And this is living in my trundle bag from Madder Root, which is perfect for holding multiple skeins of yarn and a big project. So these are very much my colors. Like the navy blue. I wear this like maroon pink color all the time. I love this color. And I often pair it with some sort of teal or blue, so this is perfect. I had thought about using the navy blue as my main color and using the white, like having those reversed. But I decided against that because I have this thing, I don't like to wear navy blue shirts with jeans. I tend to wear darker wash jeans, if I ever wear jeans, which is honestly not that often. But I also have a couple of darker blue skirts that I wear a lot. And I don't want to wear something that's almost the same color with it. And with this Swoncho, if I knit it with navy blue as my main color, then there would be a solid chunk of navy blue at the bottom where it would meet my pants or my skirt. And I didn't want that to limit how much I wore this, because I'll wear something with navy blue jeans or a skirt, but only in a pattern like this. Does that make sense? I would rather have there be a chunk of white between the skirt and the top than that chunk of navy blue right there. So I ended up going with white as my main color. Do I have my swatch? In my swatch, I initially was using a different color for this white, but it was a sport weight, and I just felt like it wasn't. And then I knit a stockinette swatch in this white, and it was too small because it was a sport weight, not a DK. So I swapped it out. It's the same yarn as the teal, whatever yarn that is that I can't remember. So I swapped it out, and instead of, you can tell it's not the yarn that I'm using is not a pure white. I don't know how much you can tell the difference. It's more of it's a little bit more creamier. That was not grammatically correct. It's a little more creamy, but that's fine. I don't wear white pants or white skirts, really, so that'll work. So yes, I am super, super excited. It is soft and warm, and like I said, I usually like to knit with something with higher wool content, but I also want to knit the yarn that I have instead of running out and spending a ton of money on yarn when I have yarn at home that I can use. But I am seriously loving this. I knit on it all the time. I can knit on it while I read. I taught myself to knit and read at the same time when I was like in middle school, and so now if I was reading for school, I wouldn't be able to do color work while reading, but when I'm reading a book just for fun, where I can stop and look at my knitting whenever I need to, I can generally work on this while I'm knitting. Or I can generally work on this while I'm reading. Whew. It's been a while since I talked to a camera, so forgive me. I'm just flying through this. I am on it's technically the second to last color work chart, but the last color work chart is like 5 rows. So I'm almost done the color work. I'm honestly not really looking forward to the plain stockinette stitch section. I have learned that plain stockinette stitch sweaters make me go bonkers. I was working on the Georgetown cardigan by Hannah Fettig. It's blocking right now. It's still really wet, so I didn't bring it out I'll talk about it another time. But it's all stockinette with a big ribbed shawl collar. And I know that I will wear it a lot. That was what I pushed through, and plus it was worsted weight. But I know that I'll wear it a lot, but I didn't really enjoy working on it all that much. Unless I was, again, like reading a textbook and knitting. But, oh my goodness. Stockinette over and over and over makes me go a little crazy. Even though I know I'll wear it, that's why I loved this pattern so much, because it's a very simple looking pattern, but it had some texture to keep it interesting. It had this stitch pattern that I loved, and that was very mindless, but kept it interesting. Which is why I don't knit vanilla socks, because I find those incredibly boring, even in self-striping yarns. So this has been so much fun. And because of those two realizations of knitting this so soon after I knit a pure stockinette stitch sweater, made me reevaluate a sweater that I had in my queue. So I'm sure most of you know about all of the faded patterns that are a big thing right now. It started out with Andrea Mowry's Find Your Fade shawl, and then she has come out with both a cardigan and a pullover faded pattern. And I had a few yarns in my stash that formed a fade and that I thought about putting into one of those patterns. But I was working on some other projects, so I never cast one on. But then after knitting Georgetown and realizing that if a worsted weight stockinette stitch cardigan made me want to cry, I didn't think I could handle a fingering weight stockinette stitch based sweater. So this is kind of in the back of my mind. I have so many garment ideas in my mind right now. They're all just kind of swimming, and I mull them over, change my mind about things. So that was in the back of my mind, but I had enough other things I wanted to make that I wasn't really worried about it too much. It wasn't like, this is my only sweater quantity of yarn, and I need to cast this on soon, and I need to make a decision. So it's in the back of my mind. And then, I don't know, a couple months ago, Christy Glass of Christy Glass Knits on Instagram and her YouTube channel is currently knitting all of the Caitlin Hunter of Boyland Knitworks patterns. And she had a great interview with Caitlin that I loved watching on her YouTube channel. So she knit, before Edinburgh Yarn Festival, she knit Caitlin Hunter's Alyeska pattern. And I'll insert a picture here so you can see what I'm talking about. And one thing that Christy talked about was that the pattern didn't really pique her interest until she figured out that it was a gradient in the background with a pop of color around the yoke. And some of the colors, like Caitlin pulls the darker color up and some color work on the top and pulls the lighter colors down to the bottom, but essentially the background is a gradient of 4 colors. So I kind of put that thought in the back of my brain, thinking, okay, I could do something that wasn't just a straight fade. And so I kind of had that in the back of my mind. But then after I cast on for the Ninilchik Swoncho, I am now dying to knit an Alyeska instead of a faded, I don't remember what Andrea Mowry's cardigan pattern is called. But instead of that, which is gorgeous, it would take me absolutely forever to knit because I would avoid working on it. My only problem is that I don't know what color to use for that pop of color on the top. I have my 4 yarns picked out. I had a couple of these that went together, and then I bought the other 2. I had the middle 2 colors picked out, and the darker and the lighter I bought specifically for this pattern. So the darkest color I bought in a D-stash. It's from the Fiberarium. It is 90% merino, 10% nylon, and it's a hand-dyed yarn, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's brown, but it has it's got some darker brown and lighter brown sections, but also it kind of goes into like tans, and there's some pinky colors, and a lot of little red speckles, which are really fun. So it's kind of like a brown with overtones of pink. Very light pink. So that will be my dark color. My next yarn, my second darkest yarn, is from Once Upon a Corgi. It's her Aran base, which is 85% Superwash BFL and then 15% Neps. It's a tweed base. And then the colorway is Nose Stuck in a Book, like from Beauty and the Beast, which is perfect because I love that movie. And so this is a pinky, like a light pink, dusty pink, slightly purple in spots, and a little bit of tan and cream in there. So it pulls in the darker brown from the Fibrarium yarn, but it also has some of the pinks and purple tones of my other two yarns. So that's my second. My third yarn, I gushed about this one on Instagram when I got it because I'm in love with it. It's from 6 and 7 Fiber on Etsy on her Amaranth base, which is 100% non-superwash merino, and it's her Arrow colorway, which is gorgeous, seriously. It's kind of purple with some slight pink in it and some yellow, some very pale yellow, fading into a cream. So it pulls in the pinky cream tones from the Once Upon a Corgi yarn, and I just absolutely love that yarn. And then I had another yarn that I was thinking of using with that was kind of a cream with some blues and some browns, but I just wasn't really happy with it because none of the other yarns have any blue tones to them at all. So then I was kind of hunting around, so I had these three yarns. I was kind of thinking just kind of, again, while this was all mulling in the back of my mind, so I just kept a lookout for hand dyers with a color that would match. And suddenly I remembered Sweet Sparrow yarns. I have wanted to buy some of her yarns forever because she, the dyer is Julie, she has just the most gorgeous Victorian type colorways, lighter colors, and some more delicate colors. So I bought this yarn. So it's from Sweet Sparrow Yarns. The colorway is Pajama Day, and it is a 75-25 superwash merino and nylon yarn. So this matches really well with the 6 and 7 Fiber yarn. It's mostly a cream color, like a cream off-white color that has purple and light pink speckles throughout it. So I thought this would be really nice for the top color because it only has small amounts of color. So it will pull. So once I got this Sweet Sparrow yarn, I knew that I had all four colors that I wanted to put in some sort of project together. And the Sweet Sparrow yarn is so soft. So, anyway, I have my four colors. Now, the question is what to put with them. The original pattern is some more neutrals and some navy blue kind of color with an orange in that section on the top, an orange mohair. And I don't really have any mohair, I've never really knit with mohair, but I inherited some blue mohair. I think it was a woman who was a friend of one of my best friend's moms, worked in a yarn shop years and years and years ago, but she doesn't really knit anymore, but she had kept a bunch of yarn. They were renovating their basement, getting rid of a ton of stuff, and so I inherited a bunch of yarn. That's where some of the yarn in my Ninilchik Swoncho came from. So she gave me this Ardilla mohair. It's 70% mohair, 30% acrylic. So I do have this as an option. This sort of medium blue color, and it is a mohair. I'm not super excited about the idea of knitting with mohair, but I think I could do it. I knit one project one time with mohair and hated it so much. I absolutely hated working with that yarn. Not the fault of the yarn. It was just impossible to rip out, impossible to see anything. I was not a fan. So that was not a good experience, but I think I could handle it in small amounts in that yoke. So I've got that blue. I also have this Knitpicks Alpaca Cloud Fingering, which is 100% alpaca, so it's a different fiber content than the rest of the yarn, but it's very soft, and it has a similar halo and fuzziness to the mohair. And it's kind of this, the colorway is called Earnest, but it's this sort of, kind of like forest green meets teal colorway. So it's kind of forest green, but not really. So this is another option. So the bright blue is very much a contrast. I feel like this one goes along with the same tones as the rest of the yarn, if that makes sense. The last option that I'm playing with right now is some Quince & Co. Finch. I don't remember exactly what colorway this is. It's left over from something. It might be Parsley. Not 100% sure. So there's this, and I love Finch. I've used it for different projects. I've yet to knit a sweater, although that's another sweater that I'm thinking about, is buying some Finch to make a cropped cardigan. But that's another day. I have so many sweaters I want to make. It's ridiculous. Anyway, yeah, so there's this, which again is kind of similar in tone, a little more of a contrast. So I'm including some videos of the yarns with these colors so that you can kind of see what it looks like. So yeah, and you don't need very much. You need maybe like 50 yards of that color pop. I don't know. And it's a top-down sweater, so I need to know, like close to the beginning, I should swatch. That's what I should do, is knit a swatch. Maybe I could knit a really big one that was big enough to have 3 of those kind of ovals with the pop of color and see what all 3 look like all in one swatch. Maybe. Would that be weird? I don't know. I feel like that would help. So that is the next sweater that I want to cast on. I've toyed around with casting on a cotton or linen sweater, and I did cast one on, but I have not worked on it at all. My Ninilchik has taken over my life. And now this sweater is calling out to me. So, I don't know. I just might not be cut out for cotton and linen yarns. I knit a cotton scarf once, or not a cotton scarf, a linen cowl once. Don't really wear it, like ever. Which could be the style of the cowl. I just realized I don't really wear that style. And I don't really enjoy working with cotton or linen. So, but which is a shame because, again, the same, my best friend's mom gave me a couple sweaters quantities of cotton yarn. It's like Classic Elite Camden cotton or something like that. So it's a worsted weight or an Aran weight cotton. So I have some. I just don't like to work with it. I don't know. So, if you have any opinions on colors. So again, here's my fade, which I absolutely love. My gradient. I don't think I can hold it all. I'll insert the video clip because there's no way I can hold all these yarns. I don't know. I know the pattern calls for a mohair, but I also know that a lot of people have not used mohair. I'm kind of leaning towards the Knitpicks Alpaca just because it's more similar in feel, I guess, to the other yarns. But I don't know, but maybe I want something that contrasts more. I mean, another option is to just do white, but that seems incredibly boring. So if you have any thoughts or opinions, help me out. Because I don't know. I should swatch. That should be what I do. We'll see. I'm getting much better at swatching. Enjoying it. I find I need to swatch for a future project while I still have a chunk of time. Well, I still have a big chunk of my current project going. I generally like to have one garment type thing on the needles. So I find I need to swatch when I'm only like halfway done with that, because that's the problem, is that when I don't have a big project on the needles and I want to cast one on, I'm less likely to have the patience to knit a swatch, block it, let it dry for a few days, and then measure it, which is what I should do and what I tried to do. But when I'm in a rush to cast something on, I'm more likely to hurry that step or skip it altogether. So I found if I swatch while I am still partway through my garment, whatever garment's on the needles, I do better with it. So I should probably swatch for this, and then we'll see. So yeah, that's what I've been working on lately, at least a little bit of it, and I hope to record more regularly now that I can be outside and I'm not in school all the time. So thank you so much for watching. Again, you can find show notes at goldberryartisans.com or down below if you want to reference anything I talk about. And I'll see you next time. Bye.
The color-coded town, they had one rule: no grays allowed, it was a great offense. It brought no compliments. A stranger to the town, he came and met a